Okay, looks like we're live. As Chad Jensen would say, I want to make sure there's green check marks across all platforms before I get into this crap show of a game between the Steelers and the Broncos so far. Week 2 of the NFL. The Broncos do not look good today, folks. It's been a very discouraging game. I have a lot to talk about. Quick little halftime stream here. Chad can't make it. He's traveling right now. He will be back in time for the podcast tonight, right after the game. Gut reaction. Judging by how the first half went, guys, it's not going to be a very positive gut reaction. Not a lot of positives going on right now. I will say this. Let me just open. Let's wait a second, let people come in the room before I jump in. I don't have a lot of time, like I said. I'm already seeing some super chats. Kevin Peterson, thank you so much, Kevin. I want to strangle Mr. No Eyebrows right now. Let me just open with that now that I said that. It's negligence at this point on the Broncos' part to keep Elijah Wilkinson in this ballgame. He is not a tackle. And it was cute in the summer and the preseason when he was given a shot and they signed DeMar Dotson and they made him his backup. But now the Broncos and the Broncos only, the Broncos coaching staff is responsible for their young franchise quarterback getting hurt. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to speculate on what it could be, but it was his right shoulder, his throwing shoulder. He was hit while he was throwing the ball, while he was releasing. So you worry about his labrum, his rotator cuff. He was ruled out for the rest of the game. That cannot be good. I hope he's okay. My fingers are crossed because the Broncos season would be over if anything happened to Drew Lock. But the Broncos coaches, Vic Fangio, Mike Munchak, Pat Shurmur, they are responsible for Drew Lock being injured right now. They are the reason why his shoulder is messed up to some degree right now. Elijah Wilkinson has no business being in this ballgame. He has no business even being on this team. You can find a street free agent and plug him in as a backup right tackle. The Cowboys in today's game are starting at left tackle and right tackle, 2 undrafted free agents. You can find guys off the street. Why they continue to have such an affinity for and loyalty to Elijah Wilkinson, who, by the way, not only is he a natural guard who converted to tackle, he's coming off lower body surgery. And that's the solution to protect your young franchise quarterback. That guy, not the 12-year veteran who you signed for peanuts right before the season started, who's a 9-year starter, who's a natural tackle. Why wouldn't you bring him in the game? It's not 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. This is constant pressure on almost every single drop back, every single quarterback going back to last season. Elijah Wilkinson is the biggest detriment to the Denver Broncos right now. But the Broncos coaching staff is complicit in Lock's injury. It's not all on Wilkinson because he doesn't determine whether he plays. Of course he wants to, but that's up to the Broncos coaches. And I don't want to hear about Vic Fangio anymore being a defensive coach or being a young coach. He has eyes and a brain. He's been around football long enough where he sees a tackle get his quarterback literally killed now and does nothing about it. He can make these final calls. He can go over Munchak's head. He can damn sure go over Pat Shurmur's head. Why isn't he doing it? Why do they have a loyalty to Elijah Wilkinson? I tweeted, take a shot every time Elijah Wilkinson surrenders pressure. Don't try this at home, folks. That's how you get alcohol poisoning. It's bad right now. I don't even know where to start in this game. The only positive I can glean, and guys, chime in with what you think. I know it's not a lot of positive emotion right now. I only have a few minutes, about 10 more minutes while halftime is being carried out right now. Elijah Wilkinson's all-time bad. He needs to go stat. The only positive in today's game is that Melvin Gordon is running kind of hard, and I'll eat some crow on that. And also, Bradley Chubb looks kind of like the Bradley Chubb of old. Not necessarily all the way back, but a lot better than he played last week. He's a little less tentative. He's tackling harder, and he just is playing a little more his natural game speed. Speaking of which, though, the opposite, Justin Simmons, another game where he looks kind of meh. He doesn't want to tackle, and thank you, Miguel. Henriquez, $4.99 donation. Thank you so much. Drop a comment or a question if you have it. I'll be on for another, like I said, 10 minutes. Bradley Chubb, positive. Justin Simmons, negative. Elijah Wilkinson, negative. Coaching, negative. Play calling, negative. Nothing is really good in this ballgame. And it was always a tall task for the Broncos, but I don't understand their line of thinking. Let me just hammer home on Wilkinson real quick. You fire your coordinator after 1 season in Scangarello. Okay. You sign a guard. You draft a center. Your top 2 picks in the draft are wide receivers for your young franchise quarterback. The Broncos literally did everything in their power to make this season about Drew Lock. The last step was getting Elijah Wilkinson out of the starting lineup. He has no business being on the field. Why they are so hesitant to complete that last step and just really surround Locke with the best possible weaponry and protection is beyond me. And there's no excuse for it. Chris Hernandez, 499, thank you so much, Chris. I'm with you, man. Why not Dotson again? I don't have the answers. Because even if Dotson isn't good, even if he's average or mediocre, first of all, he's better than Juwan James, who's literally not even playing because he opted out. And average or mediocre is still better than Elijah Wilkinson. So why they're not even giving DeMar Dotson a chance? Why'd you even sign him then? Why even have him on the team if you're not going to play him? Now your quarterback is hurt, and you're in a hole, and you're probably going to lose this game. And you probably lost your quarterback for, hopefully not, but a few weeks. You have Brady and the Bucs at home next week. If they go 0-2 here, this is a must. Next week is a must-win game if they lose today's game. And your must-win game is against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. That's not an easy position to be in. Maybe starting Jeff Driscoll. And the only reason you're in that position, and it comes down to coaching. Coaching is the reason they lost the first game. Coaching is the reason they got Locke killed today. It all comes down to coaching. And anyone who's watched me for, 3-4 years now on these Facebook Lives and these podcasts, I've been saying that. And it's not just, I wasn't saying because I didn't like Vance Joseph or I wasn't happy with how they handle things after Gary Kubiak. It all comes down to coaching. And Levi, I appreciate you, $9.99 donation. Can't wait for the gut reaction after. Yeah, guys, like I said, I'm solo today because for this halftime stream, because Chad is traveling. Chad and I will be back for the gut reaction pod right after the game, right after the whistle ends. And if things hold as they are, it's not going to be a very positive gut reaction, but we're going to tell you like it is. There is nothing positive to say about Elijah Wilkinson. There is no way possible to rationalize his play or justify why he's on the field. I don't have anything to say other than that. I mean, I want to commiserate with you guys. I want to go through some of the comments here. Come on, Bowles was great. The offensive line overall isn't playing terribly. I mean, Cushenberry has looked good in run blocking, kind of iffy in pass blocking. Bowles, he's gotten worked a couple times, but when you have your quarterback getting hit or pressured on every single drop back, it makes your entire offensive line look bad. And now they hired this whiz, Mike Munchak, and we all praise him, and he deserves to be praised. He's a great offensive line coach, the best in the business, arguably. But can we start questioning his line of thinking here and his rationale for keeping Elijah Wilkinson in the game? I mean, a peewee coach, a high school football coach can look at Wilkinson, one play, one snap, and see he does not literally have the physical stature or the ability to play tackle. He's a guard at best and a backup guard at that. So you have a backup guard coming off surgery playing right tackle against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense on the road in what you could argue is a must-win game. I have nothing more I have to say about that. It all comes down to coaching for me. Thank you so much, Craig. Craig Patterson coming in. Get Elijah El Matador Wilkinson off the field. I have seen matadors. I have seen literal traffic cones do a better job getting in something's way than Elijah Wilkinson does. And it's not me saying this to hammer home on one guy, but this is like Michael Schofield level bad. This is like Khalil Mack Schofield level bad. And I never thought I'd see that again. Because the Broncos went into the season doing everything they can to protect and build up Drew Lock. And that lasted 2 games, not even 2 full games, 2 weeks before their negligence and incompetence and stubbornness cost them potentially their franchise quarterback. And that's what makes me angry. Something Chad always said, and thank you, Anthony, coming in, Anthony Martinez, $2 donation. Any update on Locke and Sutton? Locke is out for the rest of today's ball game. And I am not going to speculate beyond that. We don't know the severity of his shoulder injury. What we do know, it's his right shoulder, his throwing shoulder. He was hit while kind of, cocking back to throw. He was hit from behind. It looked like a hard hit. I hope it's not his labrum or his rotator cuff. I hope he's okay. We should know more after the game. Jerry Jeudy, he has a rib injury. That looked like a helmet-to-helmet hit. I don't know why the Broncos don't get flags. I was worried about a concussion for Jerry Jeudy. Apparently that's a rib injury, though, and he's probable to come back in today's game. Whether he does is up to the Broncos coaching staff, and how they handle that, I do not know. Because I'm quickly losing faith in Vic Fangio and the Broncos coaching staff. And it's not knee-jerk. This isn't me giving up. It's a long season ahead. Things can still change. I'm still clinging to my 2007 Giants analogy. But based on what we've seen in week 1, and now through one half of week 2, how could you look at Fangio and say this is the same coach that ended 2019 on that 4-1 streak with Drew Lock. It's like he regressed as a coach when he got more talent and better coaches around him. He has 2 head coaches on his coaching staff. So I don't want to hear that he's a young coach or a defensive coach. There is no more excuses for Denver now. It's 5 seasons. It's half a decade. They have not been relevant or back in the playoffs. No more excuses. And like Drew says here, Drew Hollenbeck coming in $9.99. Thank you so much, Drew. BS like this continues. Vic isn't going to have a job next year. That, unfortunately, is where I kind of disagree, because regardless of record, I think this season, I think Chad also, Chad agrees with this, he's going to get 2020 Vic Fangio. He's not going to get fired. And now he can use the injuries. He can say, I didn't have Von Miller. I didn't have Cortland Sutton for a week. I lost Philip Lindsay. I lost AJ Boye. And especially if Locke is out for any extended period of time, he's going to say, what can I do about that? I lost my quarterback. I'm playing Jeff Driscoll. So I think Fangio is safe for this season. But let's say if they do end this year disappointingly, let's say, 6-10 or 7-9 again, next year he's on the hot seat. Next year, it's do or die. You get this team back to the playoffs, at least a winning record, or you're gone. So that's where I think Fangio is. Chandler jumping in, $2 donation. Thank you, Chandler. This coaching staff is trash yet again. Again, I don't want to make any definitive statements. I'm kind of hedging my bets with what I'm saying here. I'm leaning in certain directions. I wouldn't say they're trash, but the way they're coaching, it doesn't befit the talent that they have. And they're not. If such a thing is to coach to your upside, the Broncos aren't coaching to their upside. And it seems like Fangio, I'm just watching him on the sideline. Anyone else notice his body language? He's kind of like just standing there, kind of no emotion. And the team takes on the complexity of your head coach. It's for the same reason why the Broncos look so befuddled under Vance Joseph, who stood there with a stupid look on his face half the time. I want to see some energy. Get on your guys. Get on your defense. Get in your players' faces. That's what I want to see from Fangio. And the longer he just stands there very passively, I lose a little more faith every single second. Keith coming in, Locke must be considered a long-term injury issue. Yeah, like I said, if it's his rotator cuff, labrum, any sort of muscle or ligament in his throwing shoulder, and the fact that he was ruled out for the rest of the game fairly quickly does not bode well for his prognosis. We will know more after the game, though. I'm sure Fangio will update us if we don't hear anything by then. I'm just thinking that no news isn't necessarily great news. But the second half is kicking off here, guys. I want to let you guys get back to the game. It's 17-3 Pittsburgh. They're getting possession of the ball. And let me just say, in real time, while I do this, while I have you guys on air with me, we all, or not, I shouldn't say we, some of Broncos country praised Tom McMahon for how the special teams performed in week 1. Can we just say the special teams isn't changed at all? They're still pretty bad. They let up, a punt return touchdown. They got called back on a flag. They just let up a big kick return. It's still the same old Tom McMahon. And what I'm worried about, it's still the same old Broncos. Again, what I'm worried about, I'm not saying what is. I'm not making anything definitive. I am just worried that this is how the team looks. They're kind of carrying over 2019, the bad parts of 2019, into 2020. But first possession of the game, Broncos down by 2 touchdowns. Again, guys, I am hopping off here to let you guys get back to this. Chad Jensen and I will be back on as soon as the final whistle ends. Gut reaction, no holds barred, emotion, raw feeling, raw reaction. Not going to hold anything back. Hopefully the Broncos can pull this out. I don't foresee that happening based on how they've been playing, but at least make it respectable. At least certain players can perform well and maybe give them some sort of momentum, some sort of push going in if they lose this game to what would be a must-win in week 3 at home against Brady and the Buccaneers. But I'll see you guys after the game. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, go Broncos.